he's given me several, and I wanted to be able to tell him some that I had found. And the other day, you know, I was reading in Romans in chapter 8, and I found all out about how Jesus was respected by everyone except the leaders of the church.
She said something about that, about the religious leaders not respecting Jesus, which I thought was very strange, because I thought he was religious.
They were kind of frightened of him, and he was very religious, but they were frightened of him because they had made man-made laws to go along with the laws that God gave. Well, God really doesn't need any help in determining what's right and what's wrong, because he's always right.
Well, now that's an interesting thought. I never thought about it that way. So God has laws and then man has laws. Do they work together at all?
To a certain extent, yes. But what they did is they were trying to show that they were so holy and so perfect. And there were so many laws that they made that the average person couldn't live up to them.
Well, that is hard. There are so many, you know?
Well, God didn't really give us that many, and the ones that he gave us are not that hard to follow if we really want to follow Jesus and be like him.
How many are there?
10.
10?
And then Jesus said that there are really 2 of the most important, and that's love God and then love your neighbor.
Well, those aren't too hard to do. Well, unless you have a nosy neighbor, then that becomes a little harder.
Well, that makes it a little more difficult to deal with. But I found another one.
What's that?
Oh, yes, I found it in Genesis when I was reading. You know,
Genesis?
Yes, Genesis. That's the beginning. And that's the first book in the Bible.
Gotcha.
There was a young man named Joseph, and he was the youngest of 12 brothers.
Oh my,
his brothers were jealous of him because their father really, really loved him. And he even gave him a coat, and the coat had many colors in it. Well, those brothers decided to kill him.
Over a coat?
Oh, because they didn't have any respect for him, because the father had so much love and respect. And so what they did, they were getting ready to kill him, and the oldest brother came along and said, "You can't do that.
Well, thank goodness.
We can't kill him." So they put him in a pit.
A pit? You mean like a big hole?
A big old hole in the ground. And so he's in there. They decided they would sell him to the first traders that came by as a slave. They took his coat. They took his coat from him. They killed an animal, put blood all over the coat. After they had sold Joseph, they go home to the father and tell the father, "A wild animal got Joseph. This is all that's left."
Well, that's just downright dirty. That's not right.
But you know, later on, they had to respect Joseph and bow down to him, because what they planned for bad and for evil, God planned for good. God had a reason for Joseph to be sold as a slave, because as he worked as a slave, he did his work and he did everything according to God's law, and people noticed it, and they kept giving him raises and raises and raises, and pretty soon he was next to the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh was the king of Egypt. Joseph was the #1 man in all of Egypt.
You mean from that pit?
From that pit.
He was a slave, and then he just got higher and higher, and he was almost the king?
That's right.
That is amazing.
Well, God gave him the gift of sight and dreams. And so he had a dream that was very unusual. He dreamed of 7 really, really fat cows. Next, he dreamed of 7 very skinny, almost deadly looking cows.
That's not good.
And so his dream meant that there were going to be 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. And so he prepared all of Egypt. When they had the plenty, he saved and stored and had plenty of food for his people. Enough food, in fact, that when the people of Israel, his brothers, came to see if they could buy grain for food, Joseph recognized them. They didn't recognize Joseph, but they had great respect for Joseph and were bowing down to him because they wanted to buy the grain from him.
Well, That is an amazing thing.
That's right. And you think Joseph got even with him and told him, no, you can't have any grain?
Well, I tell you what, if Kat had done something like that to me, I might have been a little bit, I might have tried to get even with her, but I bet you're going to say Joseph didn't do that.
And Joseph didn't do that. He began to cry and he hugged his brothers and he told his brothers who he was and told his brothers how happy he was that he was able to help them when they had need.
That is amazing. So he forgave them for what they did.
That's right.
Well, that's some story.
Here he went from being the youngest brother who was despised by his older brothers, sold as a slave, worked as a slave, became the second in all of Egypt behind the Pharaoh. And he was respected by everyone in Egypt. And of course he was respected by his brothers and his father. And he had them send for his father and his younger brother, because there's another brother born while he was in captivity. And so they all lived there in Egypt for the next 400 years.
Now, Thelma, I don't know if this is in that book, in that Bible of yours, but I wonder what their daddy said when he found out those boys had lied to him.
He was not real happy with those boys, but he was so thrilled that Joseph was not dead and that he could be with Joseph for his last days. In fact, he died there in Egypt with Joseph.
Really?
Yes.
Well, that is just a fascinating story, and it's all about respect.
It's all about respect, and what every word is true.
Really?
That's right. Everything in God's Word is true.
I'm just finding out more and more about this Bible, and it's true.
That's right, it's true.
Well, that's just great. That's a great story.
Well,
what else do we need to do around here?
I don't know. I think we better finish our coffee and then we can go on.
That's true.
Home.
We probably should put these back in the back of the dishwasher. Let me take one myself.
All right. And I'll put them.
Clear coffee. Who knows what they'll come up with next? I tell you what, this pollen is just killing it. Look at his. Look at that. He needs Sophia to come over here and clean. There is dust everywhere.
He could probably give her a part-time job.
Well, maybe we'll just, since he's always providing snacks and things like that for us, maybe we can just...
He's such a good fellow, isn't he?
Yes, let him borrow Sophia. Well, all right, then. Whew, look at that. That blue stuff is killing me.
Oh, but the dogwoods are beautiful.
Oh, they are. Oh. Oh. I think she did, but I tell you, I was over at the diner with Thelma for a little bit. She needed some help, although all we did was sit there and drink coffee, so I don't really know what she needed help with. But Sophia might need to go over there and help Doc a little bit. That counter was dusty. A lot of pollen.
Look at our counter.
Oh dear. This pollen is just horrible.
It is horrible. It's hurt today.
Oh, I'm so sorry, sister.
Me too.
Well, the thing is, though, we are full.
Wow.
For the next week, we do not have a room at the inn.
I should be happy about this.
Well, yes, you should. I mean, this means we can pay the bills. We don't have to have any delays on that. And maybe we could even have like a little ice cream party or something like that. We have a little bit of extra cash. I think our patrons would just love that.
But sister,
What?
I just don't know about all these church people.
Well, now, sister, they're harmless. They're fun. They seem awfully nice.
I like to tell a lot.
Man, that was awesome.
Really, it's just like the old days.
I tell you what. Oh my goodness.
Hey, ladies.
Well,
How y'all doing? Have y'all met Reverend Billy Saturday?
Hey, ladies.
This is
How y'all
Miss
doing?
Kid, Miss Cat.
I'm Kid.
God bless
So
you.
lovely to
God
see
bless
Cat.
you. Oh, nice to meet you, Cat and Kid.
Kid Cat.
Oh, kind of like the candy bar.
Yeah,
Do you remember?
it's more like Kid and Cat, though.
Kid
You know.
and
Except for out of Kit Kat.
Do you remember